the work that I'm doing, mostly raising awareness and sharing my...
Loretta Saunders was more than just a name in a case file.
Come across the stolen material or stolen property and bring that back. And
she was a bright, kind, and determined young woman who carried big dreams with her. Born in Newfoundland and raised in Labrador, Loretta grew up surrounded by family and culture. She was proud of her Inuit heritage, and it shaped her identity in many ways. People who knew her often described her as soft-spoken but strong, someone who could bring comfort in a room simply by being present. She had a gentle spirit, but behind it was a determined drive to succeed. Loretta was a university student in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Studying criminology, she had chosen this path not only to build a future for herself, but also because she wanted to make a difference. Her passion was deep and personal. She focused her studies on missing and murdered Indigenous women, a crisis that had torn apart families and communities across Canada. She wanted to be a voice for those who could not speak anymore. Friends and professors admired her. She carried herself with dignity and ambition, balancing her studies with life's struggles. Loretta dreamed of becoming a lawyer one day, standing up for people who were pushed aside. At only 26 years old, her future looked promising, and her journey was just beginning. A bright future. Loretta Saunders had a vision for her life that reached far beyond the classroom. She was not only working toward her degree in criminology, but also shaping a future where her voice could carry meaning for others. Her dream of becoming a lawyer was not about prestige or money. It was about justice, fairness, and protecting those who had been silenced. Loretta wanted to fight for Indigenous women who had gone missing, who were murdered, or who had been forgotten by the system. She wanted her work to shine a light on them, and she believed education was her tool to make that possible. Her family supported her every step of the way. They often spoke about how proud they were to see her breaking barriers and striving for something better. Loretta carried her family's hopes with her, determined to show what was possible for young Indigenous women in Canada. Friends remembered her as someone who worked hard, but never lost her kindness. She balanced her personal struggles with resilience, proving that her goals mattered too much to give up on. Every part of Loretta's future looked promising. She was full of potential, carrying both her culture and her dreams with pride. For those around her, it seemed she was destined to leave a mark on the world. The sudden disappearance in February 2014, everything changed for Loretta Saunders and those who loved her. What began as an ordinary time in her life quickly turned into a nightmare. Loretta was last seen on February 13, leaving her apartment in Halifax. When her family and friends realized they could not reach her, concern grew almost instantly. Loretta was responsible, always staying in touch, and disappearing without a word was unlike her. Days went by with no call, no message, and no sign of where she could have gone. Her family became desperate, reaching out to anyone who might know something. Police were alerted, and soon, her case was treated with urgency. Loretta was not just missing, she was pregnant at the time, which made the situation even more alarming. Investigators quickly learned that she had been subletting her apartment to a couple, and she had gone there to collect rent. That small detail would soon become a dark clue in unraveling what happened. The community rallied, spreading her picture, hoping for answers. Strangers joined the search, moved by her story. But as the hours turned into days, fear grew heavier. Loretta's sudden disappearance was no longer just a mystery. It was the start of something far more tragic, something her family never could have imagined. The search begins. As soon as Loretta Saunders was reported missing, police in Halifax launched an investigation that moved quickly. Her family and friends were deeply worried, knowing Loretta would never simply vanish. Posters with her picture were shared, social media filled with pleas, and volunteers stepped forward to help. The community felt the urgency. Loretta was young, pregnant, and had a promising life ahead of her. Every hour that passed made the situation more desperate. Detectives focused on her apartment. At the same time, Loretta's car became a critical lead. When it was found abandoned in a different province, suspicions grew stronger. Police believed foul play was involved, and the search stretched across wide areas as teams looked for any trace of her. Her family, filled with fear but clinging to hope, made emotional appeals to the public. They begged for anyone with information to come forward, promising that even the smallest detail could matter. Each day, news outlets covered her case, and her disappearance captured the attention of people across Canada. The search for Loretta was not only about finding her. It became a symbol of the wider crisis facing Indigenous women, making her story impossible to ignore. Shocking discovery 2 weeks after Loretta Saunders went missing, the search came to a heartbreaking end. On February 26, 2014, her body was discovered on the side of a highway in New Brunswick. The news shattered her family, friends, and community. Hope that she might return alive was replaced by unbearable grief. Loretta, who had dedicated her studies to missing and murdered Indigenous women, had now become one of the very tragedies she wanted to stop. The discovery of her body was a turning point in the investigation. It confirmed what many had feared, that Loretta's disappearance was not voluntary, but the result of violence. Detectives turned their focus on the couple renting her apartment. Their behavior had already raised suspicion, and now the evidence was closing in around them. The nation watched as the tragic story unfolded, struggling to understand how such a bright, kind young woman could be taken so suddenly. News of Loretta's death spread quickly across Canada, sparking vigils, protests, and conversations about the safety of Indigenous women. She was not just another statistic. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and a scholar. The shocking discovery of her body was more than a crime scene. It was a moment that forced the country to confront a painful reality. The killers unmasked. After Loretta's body was found, police quickly turned their full attention to the two people renting her apartment. The tenants, Blake Leggett and Victoria Henneberry, had already drawn suspicion with their strange behavior, and now investigators believed they were directly involved in her murder. The couple had moved into Loretta's apartment as subletters, but when Loretta went there to collect rent, things turned violent. Evidence revealed that she had been attacked inside her own apartment, and her life was taken in a brutal and senseless act. The arrests of Leggett and Henneberry brought both relief and anger to the community. Relief, because answers were finally emerging. Anger, because two people Loretta had trusted with her home were the very ones who betrayed her trust.